Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dave Sebastian, coordinator of mentoring arts programming for Wayside. I'm coming to you once again from the home studio in Shirley, Massachusetts. We are running these programs virtually for the obvious reason of the virus. I'm missing all of my regular folks, and I'm super excited to be able to reach out to a new kind of audience or a new group of folks to work with in this virtual sense. Today is my 21st virtual studio program, virtual open studio program, excuse me. And today we're going to be working with Inktense again. If you were with us on Friday, we were working on an Inktense piece. So this is part 2 of that. We're working with the character Plasticman. Here's how far we got the other day. The project's been moving along pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. This was basically around where I wanted to go with Inktense. Now I'm going to switch over to Procreate. We'll photograph the artwork and work on it with black to do my outlining and some white for highlighting and water for splashes in the water. Water bubbles and that kind of stuff. I find that it's a little bit on the difficult side to get an opaque white out of Inktense. I try to use a bunch of different types of white. The Liquitex ink white. This is an ink brush pen. They tried a bunch of different ways. Hasn't really worked out for me. And then, of course, if we start working on this piece, and we make a mistake with our black, or we go too far, that's kind of it. Like we're kind of done with it. So if you guys have watched me before, I feel like I say this a lot, which is that the Procreate, which I'm sure all you guys have seen. That's interesting. Hold on just one second. There we go. Procreate is the program that I'm using on the iPad Pro. I have the 12.9, which is this one right here. We're working on it with the Apple Pencil, which is here. This is the Generation 2 Apple Pencil and the Generation 2 iPad Pro. So that's what we're going to be working with today. We will... It's just a little bit strange how it looks like that. We're going to try to finish up the piece we're working on, which is Plasticman. All right. If you guys take a look at this, at the image here, this character right here is Plasticman's neck being stretched down by this monster, and this is Plasticman's sidekick. I think his name is Woolsey. So I feel like we had a pretty good time creating this piece here. Yikes, and I like it. I feel good about it, but we just have to change the media to see what we can do. Once we've worked on it in Procreate for a little while, we'll be able to go back to this piece with our ink brushes and stuff, and be able to pull it out, and make it look the way the Procreate image looks. Or at least that's what we're going to try. Or at least be able to try some different stuff in Procreate. Of course, Procreate is 2 fingers undo. So 2 fingers undo is extremely convenient. So that's what we're going to do today. And before we get into that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my program. My program is called Greenhouse Graphics. As you know, this is the Facebook page. We are a program of Wayside Youth and Family. Specifically, we're a part of the Parent-Peer Partnership, which is a certain contract with the Department of Mental Health. And we are tasked with creating arts programming for the young adults of Central Mass. I've been doing this for about 7 years, and I mostly travel to locations to work with young adults or throughout the central part of the state, or we have an open studio program that we run in the basement of Tempo Young Adult Resource Center on Wednesdays and Fridays from 10:30 to 3. Once the virus is over, we will be back there doing that once again. We have a great time down there. Also, Tempo is a really, really helpful and innovative type of youth program. It's a resource center, young adult resource center. So they're helping with every kind of crisis, like homelessness or drug problems or the legal system, court involvement, or basic day-to-day needs like food and a washer and dryer and a computer, to be able to look for jobs and stuff and help with employment. So Tempo is a really, really great place. That's at 68 Henry Street in Framingham. If you guys need anything from those guys in the short term, they are seeing young adults just by appointment. So feel free to give them a call. I will put their phone number in the comments on this video. So that's the deal. So we're going to get right into working on this project. The first thing I wanted to show you was on the piece over here. We're going to use our Procreate, our large Procreate on the iPad Pro. We're charging our pencil right here in the top. This is a great and innovative new way to charge it. Before, it charged sticking in the end in the charging port, just not ideal. This one right here is really, really good. This is a magnetic charge. The pencil has one flat side, which really helps because the other Apple Pencil was often rolling off my desk. So when you put it onto that, sorry about that, guys. When you put it onto that charger and you take it out, it's now paired. Now what I like to do is go over here and take a look in our widgets to see what we got for charge. Now at the moment we only have about 13%. So maybe if you stick it on there for about a minute, it charges pretty quick. See that? It was already 1% high. So let's talk one more sec about the Procreate, the Inktense artwork, and how we created that. Inktense was made. The Inktense that I'm using are travel palettes. They look like this. There are 12 colors, and they come with one of these small koi brushes. Over here is a mixing surface, for creating your colors and blending. And then this is a sponge to get some of the water out as you're working with it. This little piece right here is an insert that came with it that told you the colors in order. I'm pretty colorblind, so this guy helps me to pick the right colors that I want to be working with. This came out probably about maybe almost 2 years ago, and obviously as you can see, I've kind of used it quite a bit. I think I've probably created maybe 5 or 6 pieces using these travel kit specifically, and I really liked it. Now the only problem is Inktense comes in 92 colors, and that's 12, so you're a little on the limited side. I have a huge number of Inktense pencils and blocks, but these guys are just so incredibly convenient that I've wound up using them just a little bit more. This particular piece here, everything is done with these because they've recently come out with a palette number 2. This has been really cool because it had a white in it. It had some other colors that the other didn't have. It had like a brighter yellow, a sepia. So this has been really, really cool. Second one. Obviously, I've only gotten into this one a little bit. This piece specifically, I did with the 2 at the same time. So being able to use more variety of colors, different greens, different oranges. I had kind of, that really, really worked out pretty well. So, that's all I wanted to say about the Inktense. Our pencil right now is up to 35. So what was that, about a minute? So it charges really quick. There we go. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a picture of our artwork. With the iPad. Just want to grab our camera. All right. So now you can see we got our camera out. And we're just going to put it, orient it to the artwork and get up enough that we can see all of the artwork. Now you can see that our trigger is here on the side. I try to get it as flat as I can and as close as I can to minimize editing. All right, so now we got it. Now we can put away the I don't want to make anybody seasick. So now we can take the iPad Pro that has the photo on it, and we can open up Procreate, right? And all we have to do is go in here and add an image. So we're going to create a new one, screen size. All right. Now in here, we're going to click Gallery. Oops. Don't hit Gallery. You want to hit the wrench icon, Add, insert a photo, select in Photos, select our last image, back out a little bit so that we can see, what it kind of looks like. Let's go ahead and bring this guy in full screen so you guys can see what we're doing. So now we're going to be going in and doing our editing, right? Hold on just one sec. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this thing. We're going to go in and do our editing, and all you have to do to edit is switch to freeform right here, and then you want to pull down. Whoops. I think I got the wrong one on here. Whoops. There we go. So under Canvas is crop and resize, that's what we need to do. We need to grab this guy, drag it down so we get our information, but we do take away this, unneeded kind of junk. I feel like down here we'll leave it like this because we can always do an additional sample. So we get this guy in like this, and bring this guy in like this, and we're getting rid of our background. So we have just the monster, just information, just the data, that we need, right? So as you guys can see, this is what we're doing right here. Now we've got this weird. Huh. So we got this done. Now we want to click done. Now we've cropped the canvas. It does look when we get really close, so we need to crop it again because we missed over here by a little, and I think we'll just take this out like that, like done again. So now we got just the artwork that we're working with. We're going to continue trying to get this going. For some reason, one of my displays is not looking correct. So we're going to try that again. There we go. For some reason it was not reorienting itself. All right, so here we are doing this. And now we're going to get in with the pencil. So we know our pencil is good to go. Up here, you see what we have selected is the eraser icon. We don't need that. What we're going to really need first is to go in here to layers. You can see here that our background is white. Seems like a good idea that we'll change that. You just click on that. We can go anywhere we want, hold our finger, and make that our base color. So I think we're going to go into some greens. If you guys can see that circle, the top is the color we're selecting and the bottom is the color that is currently selected. It's pretty cool to be able to see what you had last and to select this color. So right now, if we turned off, whoops, Cancel. That is supposed to turn that background layer to the color that we want. But whatever. Just do that. You can drag your color onto your desktop, and that's like a paint bucket tool. And so it fills up whatever shape you have selected. You can also use this tool right here to select a shape, whatever shape you want. 2 fingers undo. You can select a shape like this and hold. Come on, thing. And it has, whoops, maybe I missed it. Not interested in working with me today, friend. Oh, maybe it just doesn't work in selections. In any case, we're going to turn our background layer back on. I'm going to add a layer in front of that guy. This layer we're going to call our ink layer. I do recommend naming your layers as much as you can, only because spending a bunch of time going through to try to figure out what layer is what. There are obviously thumbnails here that you can use, but sometimes the thumbnails aren't enough, especially once we get into individual areas. So you just keep labeling as much as you can. It only takes a second. I feel like that's true in pretty much all digital media. You really want to make sure in Photoshop and Illustrator that you name things as much as you possibly can, because that's the deal. So now we're going to be on our ink layer, layer 2, and our background layer. I don't know if I can pull them together, but maybe. This is how you blend 2 layers, which we don't want to do that one. Let's undo that. Undo. There we go. So now what you do is you select a color. Oops. And you select like this. Now they're both selected. You pull them together like this. Oh, no, not those 2. Oh, I guess you can't select your background color. Anyway, so now we're in here on our ink color. What color you think ink should be? I'm guessing black. You know how it goes. And now it's going to really be all about what brush to use. Now there's an inking section. Does it seem like we should start in there? Yeah. Why not? You know what I mean? But we could start down here in marker. Marker's not too bad either. So now we're on a layer by itself, so no matter what do, we really can't mess anything up. Whoop. On the wrong layer. There you go. Interesting. Says there's something on here already, which I don't believe there is. You can do this, right? Which is you click on it and then hold. Turns everybody else off, right? You can click on it here and hit clear. Make sure there's nothing on it. And then make sure we're there. So we're going to turn our artwork layer back on. And now we're going to take a look at it. Now, of course, Procreate is amazing to be able to get up in really close. We're on our marker brush right now, so we're going to take a look at what that looks like. We don't want it to be quite so big. Whoa, that would be way too big, so we're going to bring them down again. Now, marker, of course, is a large and heavily saturated media. So, at the moment, it doesn't matter about the splashes and stuff. Whoops. Because we're going to go over a lot of this with white, and the splashes will definitely be self-contained. So one of the things that will help sell our boat is really straight lines. If you hold in Procreate, it creates a perfectly straight line. You get this pop-up that says you've created a straight line, which is convenient, you know what I mean? All right. So see, having the back of the boat be a little more visual really helps. It starts to pull it out a little. Same thing through here. Now the boat bows around the side. So you don't want the straight line that we had on the other one. We want parallel lines. Now, say you can possibly see that what just happened there, which is that my hand is a little shaky. So you pull up streamlining. So what streamlining does is it cleans up the bumpy lines that I create, with my hand. In here is, a bunch of other options related to what happens with your taper. With taper would be how hard you push, it goes up and down in size. Pretty much works pretty good. So we're going to go in here, go away from it, and undo our last line and see if we can get a little more of a streamlined effect, right? Now you can see right there, whoops, that's slightly better. All right. So now we know we got that line going down the side of the boat. We can grab this color again, take our marker, move them up a little. This is opacity, move his opacity down a bit. We can pull, put some of our boat color in this side. And then if we go over it again, we get a little bit more of the boat color. Now we're going to switch back to black. Switch back into our ink. Actually, I think we're going to switch over to our studio pen for a sec. We want to do the inside bottom of the boat, which is this line. That doesn't look like black. I guess it is, but it does not look like it. So this line is already here. So we'll just reestablish that, and that comes through up to here. Again, we want to jump in here, go to the color we're using, sheet it down around halfway, and whoop, go back to our marker. Whoop, two fingers undo, three fingers redo. Right now we're looking for a slightly bigger studio pen, and we want to go in here and give the bottom of the boat a little color, right? A little darker color, right? So that we're creating a little bit of a lighting effect. Obviously where this guy is falling over, there would be a shadow of his movement. And you see here that you can see an overlap, so it's changing the color. I kind of like to go in with my smudge tool and be able to soften up that overlap effect because, I think sometimes it looks a little digital, meaning a little too strong. It's an interesting line. I don't remember making that. Maybe we should erase that. Alright. I think we should go here and say clear. And then we can go back in here and grab that color again and drag it in here. Then we can go back to working on the layer we were on and turn our background back on. Okay, so now we've got some establishing lines. Whoops. Go back into color, grab the color we had before that. Just a little bit of more darkness in here because it's down in the boat. Right. Okay, same kind of idea through here. Now these lines should be perfectly straight because this is, how the boat is made. These are like the boards across it. Alright. Liking what's happening right there. I think we'll jump back into black for a sec. Bring our, go back to we got our studio pen, bring that down a bit. So now we're going to just chase these blue lines with a little black, just to make them stand out a little bit more. Whoop. I'm a turn person. Just one of the ways I've always worked. can see up here that there's a pretty good sized gap in the color there. I like to turn a lot of stuff. All right, so now we got the lines around the side of the boat that are making up the boards down the side. Now you can go over things because we're on its own layer, and we can always just erase. I find it's a little easier to continue a line, continue pulling a line instead of stopping to jump over individual pieces of detail, because a lot of times that's where you kind of blow it. You know what I mean? Speaking of blowing it, definitely made a mistake over there, so I can just take that out through here. Guess I feel like it's easier to pull the line the other way, just coincidentally. We can go in here and grab this guy. Now this color here is related directly to the Woolsey character, so we're going to put a new layer in and call it Woolsey, even though I can't even honestly remember if that's his name. I know. Don't edit me, Procreate. That's funny. It would want to, edit me. So, whoop, yikes. Sorry about that, guys. Where'd it go? That was funny. It threw us out. Oh, that's too bad. What the heck happened there? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Somehow I got tossed out. All right, so I'm kind of liking what's happening here. We're on the God damn it! I think we're on the Woolsey layer as we were looking for. We want to bring his body and his shoe into this underwater area. Make sure on its own layer. I want to bring up the opacity a little so that we can see our line. Let's erase it. Now clearly the bottom of his foot would be opaque. You wouldn't see the water through it. So we need to make sure that happens. All right. Now we definitely want this underwater area to be a little softer. We don't want it to not be underwater. Go in here and maybe grab a little darker one, so that we can see it, maybe even a little darker. Bring down our opacity a little, get in here a little closer so you guys can see what we're working on here. I'm going to erase some of these lines here. Those were a little messy. So now we want to take a look at the color, we were using, which is not that one. And we want to bring it in here with his opacity lower and the brush bigger. Oh, sounds like the rain started. We got some rain coming into my place. Now this is too great. but it will cover the background blue, which is one of the things we're kind of looking for. And now we want to erase it, but way down, so that we can don't really want to see the blue behind it. Just want to make sure there's no, blue coming through the foot. Because that wouldn't be good, right? I mean, that would look foolish. Alright, soften up all this coloration. Soften up the gray. What layer are we on? Alright. Put a little of that color, really low opacity, so that it, conveys that his shoe has still has its still has its shape. I don't know what I keep hitting that drops this out. Bring the size of this guy down. Using what I wanted to use. Over there, I wanted to use it. Looks good except for the line across the top of the water. We're going to work on that. So now we got his foot in there. I think it looks a little better. Like he's falling. And this is his shirt. And this is his leg coming over. Alright. Sorry to have this so small, guys. Sometimes I get a little into tiny details. We can edit some of our ink lines real quick right here. Just want to take out our overlap, like I was saying. Easier to pull the line than to worry about it disappearing on us. Alright. Like what's happening right there. That's really cool. Really cool. We got our boat established pretty good. That's really, really clear. Woolsey's showing up. I'm not loving him, but it's fine. Make sure we're working with the same kind of look as the rest is going to have. Grab this color right here, put some in here, and then smudge it a little. Looks like it's going into his sleeve with a little shadow on it. See that? Okay. We go back to our brush, studio pen, bring the size up just a little so that we can. You gotta remember to grab black, man. I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna call it Plasticman. Great thing to do is to select your palettes through here. You can get your colors going, and it'll really help. So you can remember, instead of always, what I was doing was selecting through my history here, which is a fine way to do that, but you're going to run out if you use more than I think it's maybe like 20 colors, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 colors, so you're going to run out. So Sticking with the black right now in the brush. Get in here close to his hand. Now you see the blowout, like as we're getting really close, the lines blow out. Oh, not that big. There you go. I don't know about the size of this line. It feels really big. I feel like that hand is badly drawn, and I think that didn't help much. Alright, let's try to draw this again. Alright. There, that's looking a little better. Brush a little smaller. Let's just take the whole thing away. Just draw a new hand here. This one was real quick, so if I was falling, I would be, whoop. Let's draw with skin color. This. Alright, let's see what happens with this. Brush down a bit. All right. Funny, I feel like the last couple of live streams I've been talking less. I think that shows that I'm really getting into the artwork. It does make the point of a live stream a little silly. We're going to leave his hand like that for the moment. It's fine. It's a minor, what the heck? It's a minor amount of detail, so we're not going to obsess on it. There we go. All right. Cool. Next thing we're going to move over to is these are paddles. I feel like they're really badly done, so I'm going to get in here and pull those out a bit. You know, paddles are kind of supposed to look like even a little longer, maybe. Got to undo that. Go back to our black lines layer. Alright, well that's fine. So we want to be on the black line layer. We want to go into these paddles. Right. So we're going to put this one, whoop, yeah, there we go. Put this one right up front. And give it a super low opacity coat of black with a bigger brush so it doesn't look like that. Bring up the opacity a little so that we can, don't forget to bring your size back down. Otherwise you make a really, really big line. Now having a big line, you know, down the post part of these paddles is kind of fine. I was sort of trying to figure out if I needed to have the paddles be crisscross. You know, like I think that that looks a little bit more believable than they look right now. But I feel like it would be a significant undertaking to take them out. I mean, if we grab this color, of which there's a lot of different ones, and then we, you know, say we go in up here and see if we can take it out. A lot of it, right, like this. Right, so now we got a lot of our background color, and you know, we could go blend that in a little, or we could actually go to our artwork and erase this guy completely, right? And see what kind of what we can do to fix it. I think our ink layer has got that line. We could go into our ink layer and just erase the line since that was part of our outline. Now, is it possible to make this look better? It's hard to say. All right, we want to be on this layer. I'm going to try to blend this in a bit. Not much, you know what I mean? Let's try it. Oh, let's try a different one, like that one. Nope. This. Right, so we do lower that. Right. Now we have the one paddle kind of isolated. Now if we pull back here, I feel like that really stands out, you know. So we want to kind of, in this case, I'm smudging the opposite way of the color. Hopefully it'll help soften it up a little, give it less of a sort of a standing out effect. just kind of keep softening and moving around. Now one of the problems here is we got a little too close and we started to reveal that other paddle. So now we just do a little softening there and switch to our black and try to switch the direction of this second one so that it kind of does this thing. All right. Then we're going to bring it up a little and lower the opacity on it. Okay, let's go back a little. Let's pick the black again, and we want to just go up a little and lower opacity and bring this in here. Now that's still a little solid, so we're going to bring it down a little. Same as everywhere, the intention is to try to, cover all of the background. This color here seems to be a little bright, but it does do the job. I feel like if the boat was up in the air, these things would be falling over, right? Yeah, we're gonna work with that. Now we're in that weird extra layer we made just for those. Just gonna take out a little so you can see the post in the middle a little better. Go. Not too much. That thing. All right, so now we're gonna start going into some important stuff. Now we're finally going into Plasticman. We got a lot of our backgrounds looking pretty good. Take a look at it. You can see it's looking pretty good. Black lines we've done are pulling some things out. I think they're helping. Sorry, we had them turned off. So I feel like the boat definitely is standing out a bit more. The Woolsey character's hand looks a little less ridiculous. And now we're going to go into Plas. Here we're going to use a studio pen. I have a brush set that I use a lot. And mostly I use these guys. There's a brush pen in here I use quite a bit. I'm going to keep its size around 2%. An interesting thing about Procreate is every brush is designed with its own size. So when you select it, it changes some of your settings, and it's important to know that happens. Otherwise, it's a pain in the butt, So, let me set this guy up here real quick. Right, so you can see a little bit more. So first thing we're going to do is make sure we're on our inks layer, and then we're just going to take a look at the size we got right now. Make sure we can see our lines. Yeah. I'm going to bring up the opacity a little on that guy because it was a little milked out. Down here oh. 2 clicks on the brush, on the Apple Pencil, switches from brush to eraser. This is an awesome benefit, but for some reason for me it just doesn't work out. Like I'm hitting it accidentally all the time. This is really kind of an important line right here. End up like really working on some of this information here, but right now we're just trying to do the lines. I'm being kind of careful with how hard I pull these lines because I don't want to take away a lot from the lines the Inktense made. It'll be hard to replicate that when I go to go back in and draw these things, you know. Kind of screwed up over here. His back is all messed up. Would be a shoulder here, tricep there, and then some overlap. Yep. So you want to go down a layer in between here and sort of try to fix it. Yep. That layer, that is way too bright. So I'm going to go down here a bit and cover some of this, or fill in some of this, because these black lines are of course on our black line layer. And this is not. So this we've isolated out so that it didn't affect the black layer. You know, I don't know. We're going to see what I can do with this red here. You know, maybe if I pull a little more around, it'll help, you know, soften that up a little. Make our brush a little bigger. And keep our opacity low. Make his costume punch a little more. Hope you guys aren't looking at me, looking down. Alright. Getting some of this stuff in, which is of course really important. His sort of bent out over stance here. And then honestly, you know, anything you do, adjustments and color additions for sure, any kind of effect or anything, you want to go back and make sure it looks right, you know, because otherwise, you know, you always want to be moving in and out. That's very, very important. What does it do? This is kind of like a trap muscle. All right, jump out, take a look. I mean, it's a foolish pose, so. All right. Still on our. You know, keep painting, smudging, painting, smudging, to make sure that the lines aren't, you know, kind of too aggressive. And just keep checking. Don't love how high his pant leg is here. So we go back to our mystery adjustment layer. And we'll pull in just a little more red there. That looks better. Just keep jumping around, you know. Go back in color here for a sec. Go over to our palettes, our Plasticman palette. Oh. Oh. Okay, so now I believe we have black, dark blue, orange. These are some of the colors that we need. So now we're in here. We want to go back to black. Make sure we're on our black layer. Let's try this. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. All right, now we've run out of things. We're in our ink layer. You can just take that line right out. And then we're back in our base layer again. And we just draw it again, slightly smaller. Because we definitely want it to look like it's his pant leg, but we don't need it to look to be too bright. Distracting, you know what I mean? Back into smudge again. For this one we want brush to be much smaller, and we're really just smudging to take away the opacity. Pull it down a little. And of course, the lighter you touch the Apple Pencil, the softer the lines become. Sometimes you have to go in here and establish where a given thing is. Like I want this area softened up a bit, and I want the brush smaller to do that. So if it doesn't seem to be working, you know, go into the layer, just the layer that it's on, and you can see there's not much to see here. And if we go in here and hold, you see that everything's there, and we're able to blend this in a bit. Now we're going to have to adjust a little bit of this right here. We can see what that's on. I think it's on our mystery layer. Go with the eraser, just take out a little, go back into inks, back into this guy. There we go. And our weird layer, our palettes. Try to overlap that, you know, grayish color there. All right. Bring up the opacity of his pants a little. Use the same color over here to bring up some light. A little bit of this light hitting his costume, and we're going to smudge this so that it doesn't look quite so bright. Whoops, damn it, I gotta move my finger. I keep hitting the gallery button. Alright. Now we go over with our smudge tool and we just push the opacity of these lines down. And it does seem to just continue to go like that, you know, like. And as usual, jump back and take a look. I actually think that kind of helps a lot. Just pull out some of this shadow here. This is actually from on our artwork layer, on our base layer. Bring some lines in like, you know, like this, and it helps like establish that these surfaces are really texturally, you know, like that. Like see from here, the highlighting really adds a lot. All right, so now we're gonna go in and fix his belt. We're gonna need this color, and we're gonna, oh, we already have it. So there you go. So we're gonna square up, give it its own layer, and call it white. All right. So now we're going to go in here and establish some of it. And kind of clean out this bad drawing here. Same deal as what we were saying up top is if you can't pull a clean arc, you know, you can just put it on its own layer and erase it. You know, you can erase it 100%, you can erase it, you know, leave the reference to the line so that you can do it again. There's, you know, really a lot of options. How I usually do it is I lower my opacity a lot, especially if I've already produced the shadow. Now I went over it a bit, so I want to bring it up again. All right. Now we want to jump back to the artwork layer, and we want to just take away some of the star, you know, whatever this thing is. It's on his belt buckle, I guess. Go back to this layer, into our brush, and just pull a little bit more of a line there. And then we're going to put his belt buckle back, so we don't really have to worry about. We just have to make sure that those lines are clear. All right. Now we're going to once again add another layer. We're going to call this guy yellow. Yellow. It's going to go right in here. I'm going to bring our brush down a little. Switch the brush we're using. Oh, already in there. Quite a few colors in here. Really kind of should be sticking with excuse me, the stuff in here. I guess I'm going to go with Technical Pen, even though I haven't had a great time with it. I'm going to grab this color, which I believe I already have. Now he's on his own layer, so we don't have to worry too much. Okay. Oh, do that one again. Yep. too bad. Just want to pull this line down a little more. I want it to hit the intersection of his belt. And I was thinking these lines might be important to be straight, but I don't know. I'm thinking that less now. I think they might just be fine. Same deal with this guy as all the other folks, which is that we're going to push the opacity down so that it reads more like the background. Jump back into our white layer, jump back into white, fill in a little here. All right. Ink layers into here, back to black, a little closer, pull this down as low as we can. All right, let's take a look back here a little. I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's actually looking kind of fun. I feel like the boat and the characters in the boat are looking pretty good. We're in our black layer. So now the only thing left to do is to get some black around the star, or whatever this is. Alright. Elbow. Oh, I believe that was yellow. That was very funny. Alright, so that's our yellow. This is our ink. Seems as though we're having a little trouble working on that. So let's go. We'll change the name of this to belt buckle. So now we're going to switch to our eraser. We're going to, let's take a look actually. Is that belt buckle a problem? No, I don't think so. Alright, let's go over here to the Woolsey character's face. We have a Woolsey layer. So all we're doing here is just adding some detail to this character. Does that feel like he's definitely a little lost in the background? Let's go into our white layer. Have to add another layer up here because if we go below our white layer then the teeth won't work. I'm going to call it teeth. Edith. So maybe, oh, forgot. Every cartoon character needs to have white eyes. I mean, come on now. Go back into our inks layer. Excuse me. And go back to black. Get in here. This one's kind of easy because it's definitely a cartoon hand. He's like definitely kind of extreme. Size of this guy. Bring up the opacity of the pen. Now we go down to our artwork layer. I'm going to grab this background color. Just going to bring a little in here. Kind of edit this extra finger. Same thing we've been doing. A little smudging. Trying to make it a little less obvious. Alright, take a look at that. Looks good. Now we're going to start working on Plasticman's neck. Back in our ink layer, back with black. I wonder what happens if you say that. Oh, there we go. That's what we want. Sometimes I forget. I mean, what are you going to do? How you guys holding up? We're about an hour and 15 minutes into the project. It's going along pretty good. I wish it was going a little bit faster, but what are you going to do? We'll keep cooking along until we get where we want to go. Back in here. So now we've got Plasticman, the color of his body here, which it is. Actually, we'll go with the ink layer first. Right. So we've been inking this guy, these characters. So this we want to do again. This line right here is an important straight one. If you just hold, gives us a perfectly straight line. Here we need to erase a little because his neck kind of flares out towards the bottom. Same deal here. We want to come right down and pull a straight line. All right. And a great thing about the pull line option is if you hit the button here that says let's do it again and I'll show you. All right. So now we got no line and we're working with our brush, right? So now we want this taper kind of, so we're going to go in right here and build this line. Draw that line. Now you just hold at the end and it becomes a perfect line. You can see that in the center of the top. Now you finish and the center, the what's happening up there changes to an edit shape. If you click that edit shape, it gives you the option of line, which is what we already have, but it gives you these two adjustment handles. Now these handles we could use to bring up right up here to where it transitions out, and we could shorten down here because we know we want it to flare out a little at the bottom, right? And then you just hit your brush again. And now if you take a look at his neck, I feel like it sells his neck in a different kind of a way. Unfortunately, we had some underlap. So we're going to go back in here to, this is kind of the red layer, the deep layer. Layer. Why don't we go back in, why don't we go in here, grab this color here, which is like a kind of a purple, I guess, I don't know, and just cheat a little in here for the overlap. All right. See, and now we're going to do this, and then I'm going to bring up a little bit more, so that it brush down a little, doesn't stand out so much, as we've been saying kind of the whole time. All right. If you go over it a couple of times, it's going to push its opacity. It's going to, push its opacity up. It's kind of a layering thing. If you were using an actual paintbrush with a low opacity ink and you continually overlapped, you get the same effect. So I think that looks really good for his neck. So now we're going to go in here and grab the color of his body, sort of the darker, well, let's go with the brighter one right now. Go in here and make sure we save that. Looks like it's slightly different than this one. So we're going to use that. Let's see, we're on this strange, we'll call it Plasticman. It's interesting that it doesn't get it right anytime. All right, Plasticman. Blast, baby blast. What we don't want to do is take away what looks like down here is a different color. But what we want to do is try to create a little lighting. Down here, his neck would be a different color, and the shadows would be different. So we're going to fill this area in, even to overlap the black a little, so that we can soften it up. Alright, but make sure we have coverage of this color throughout. Same deal. Really make sure that, that if you're following the contour of this shape, it'll read like, like his neck. All right. Back out. Okay. I feel like as he hits the water, there would probably be, some overlap and stuff. What we want to do is keep going back and forth between the color that we're using for light and the color that we're using for dark. Just so we create a little transition of light. Keeping in mind, well, I guess it's up to the interpretation, right? Like, would Plasticman's neck be flat if it was stretched underwater like this, or would it still be kind of a tube? I don't know. Really have no idea. All I know is it would be the same color. Push down some of this sort of muddiness that's happening here. Let's go back into our black layer, grab black again, take the opacity way down. Now we want to bring the size down, the opacity up, and try to see what we can do with poor Plas's face here, which I did less than a great job drawing. Plasticman is a fairly recognizable character, invented by Jack Cole back in the 50s. Extremely old and early character. I have for sure been reading Plasticman for my whole life. Jump back up to our Plasticman layer. I have always really enjoyed Plasticman. Not 100% sure why. I mean, I feel like he's an interesting character. He doesn't have a secret identity. He just is Plasticman all the time, which is kind of cool. I had always found, and I do still today, secret identities to be sort of an unrealistic aspect of comics. You know, like if you had some incredible power, why would you bother dressing up as a human, as a regular person? I get it that people would come and bother you all the time, but if you were Superman, they wouldn't, because you'd just say, "Hey, knock it off," you know. I've had just about enough of you coming by my house. Not to mention Superman lives in the North Pole, which is actually melting right now, so the first thing to go was the Fortress of Solitude. And believe you me, don't call Superman. He's like really mad about it. He's really mad about it. Mostly take away all of my lines from earlier. All right. So down here gives us neck, color of his neck is still the same color. It's just in the shadows. That's important, you know, because things in different light are still the same things, right? All right, I like his face a lot more there. This is still the smudge tool. All right. And right now I'm smudging the black we added, or the black I added. Kind of try to move our shadow around a little bit. All right, now let's switch back to white. One of the most defining factors, one of the most defining elements of Plasticman is his goggles. Very iconic, if that's possible to say with someone like Plasticman. I am going to, build some lighting and stuff into his goggles, but initially it's just going to be clean up my terrible lines that I made on the sketch. I always imagine Plasticman got these at a stand in the village in New York. I've actually seen these glasses there. I thought of wearing them. That'd be my Plasticman costume. But then I remembered that I can't do that. If only my kids were interested, but they're really only interested in wrestling. Which is fine, whatever they want to do. Oh yeah, that's helping. We want to go back to our friend Plasticman's skin tone. Actually, I think we'll go with the darker one. And make sure we're on our Plasticman layer, which we are. Now this is his ear. So it wouldn't just be an amorphous shape. It would be the shape of his ear. And like I said, I'm going to add the white at the end, so this overlap doesn't really matter, which is true throughout the piece, right? Jump back to black and our inks layer. That's actually where I want to be. Alright, turn everybody back on. Grab this color, go back in our Plasticman layer, bring it in here. And that'll help us adjust the sort of the error in the underpainting. Now over here you can see we needed to add a little bit more of this anyway. All right. Now we take a look out here. Looks good. Starting to look more like Plasticman. All right. Now we got to fix the this stuff going on around his eyes here. Totally fine with the tell you, colorblind is a significant problem when you're trying to put white on something and you realize you're putting skin tone on it, which is all through here is the skin tone that I accidentally added. So we just go in and brush it away. And now we go across like this. Try to pull a line so that his glasses are parallel all the way across, which they now are. I'm going to add a little bit more through here just so they look like they have a bridge for their nose, for his nose. Again, this is our friend Plasticman. Jump over to this color again. Back to our Plasticman layer. Just put in a little of this color here because it is not sunless color. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. So now we're going to go back into our inks layer because Plasticman has some real dark shades. And we want to exaggerate his mouth. You'd be mad if a monster was pulling you out of a boat to underwater, I'm guessing. It's a good thing he's a hero. A regular person would probably be killed. Alright. Alright. Same through here. Same deal with the smudge. Just so you can't really see my brush strokes quite so good, but you still have the contour, a little contour shading going on. So Plasticman's glasses have this large triangle in the side, some sort of reflection. I've always thought that that was a cool piece of the character. Alright. Switch back over to white, our very first color. And remember that we have a white layer. So we want to and then we just go back to inks, go back to black, and go in and do it again. And we remind ourselves that this layer, our blacks layer, is behind a lot of other layers. So we want to go Sometimes it's hard to understand what's happening. Procreate very rarely crashes, but everything crashes sometimes. Oh, I wonder if my pencil died. My finger worked fine. Oh, yep. Sometimes it disconnects, which just means we gotta pair it again. Yep, died on us. So go back into Procreate. It's really weird. Oriented backwards. Some days I cannot get a break. What I'm trying to do is adjust my Procreate to be the correct orientation, which appears to be the deal now. Sorry guys. Back in. All we have to do to take a look at where we are with our Apple Pencil is slide to the right. Now you see that it's been seconds. and Apple Pencil is already at 8. Unfortunately, there isn't a gauge or anything really to tell you where your pencil is while you're using it. This widget here is tremendously convenient for me and really helps me. But it's not on the Procreate screen. I feel like Procreate should have its own gauge, because nothing's worse than what just happened to us, which is that dead right in the middle of working, we wind up having no pencil, right? But again, it charges really quickly. We're already at 12%, and we can still work in here with our fingers. It's just not quite as cool. Know what I mean? So we can still get in really close and take a look at what we were doing with Plasticman. Still got a lot of stuff that we can do on the Plasticman layer. Oops, want to have his color, which is really getting hard for me to remember. Honestly, I think that Apple Pencil has died on me like 2 times while I've been working. It would, of course, die during a live stream. Sorry, you guys. We'll be right back to it, Being able to work with your fingers is still extremely convenient. So now we can jump back over here, and we're at 26. So 26 is more than enough to get me through the next 20 minutes. So get back in here. We're working on Plas's face. We're working with black on the ink layer. I'm trying to clean this up a little, especially behind this eye. There we go. I think we use that line, but not as thick. It feels too thick still. Actually, maybe we should do a line like that to show that his glasses are 3-dimensional. I can't say I like it on that side, but over here doesn't look too bad. Jumping out. Like how Plas is looking there. We grab this color and go back in here. I believe we have it. So we want the darker one. And we want to add it in here to add a little bit of discoloration. since he has been pulled underwater here. All right. Smudge it. All right. So that looks good, pretty good on Plas. You know, he is the star of the piece, so you know it's kind of okay, you know, that he stands out so much in this particular context. So now we want to once again lower the opacity of our black, and try to fill in because his hair is black. So we don't want too much of it to not seem to be black. This gives it like a little, you know, life, little activity going on. And the same deal, smudge some of that in. Alright. Be careful, occasionally the smudger is an eraser. If you don't have enough digital paint on it. What layer are we on? Let's try another new layer. And this one we're going to call green. And I'm going to see what happens if we pull a really large green in our new layer. Yeah, actually. Just keep working and smudging and drawing and smudging. Especially if there's places you can use it to edit. You know, like we're close to on this monster or whatever. I really am not sure what color this monster is, but I do know that this line right, well, actually, we could have had this same green overlap this character's arm too. Maybe we should go in here, it'll tell us our last color. Okay. So let's see what happens if we Alright, so it looks like we got Plas, we got our guys pulled out, our monster doesn't look too bad, and now we need black again to, you know, I don't know, I think that the monster actually looks pretty good. I was thinking we might need a little more of the monster, but I don't think so. So now we're going to go back into our white layer and see what happens. I think there's a pretty good chance we might wind up having to create a new layer. But right now we're going to go with this one, and for this we want a lot of, whoops, wrong brush. This we want to use about an organic one. I find cotton really looks a lot like water. I wish there was a way to make this particular brush smaller. Oh, over here I think we'll use a different one. Let's see what happens with the reed brush. No, that one might work, but it's too big. Alright. Alright. Just 1 second. Gotta grab something. Really want this whole area through here to have white in it. Right. And to be unsettled, you know, like the ocean. So we're working on splash action here. I want some to be coming down the side of the boat. Good to have a few straight shot drips because of course water tends to drip specifically, right? Now we really need up here to really be on the unsettled side, because this is the side where they're getting pulled over as opposed to getting pulled over. Alright, so now up here we want to get a lot of splash as this guy heads off the side. Right. make sure all of our splash ends at what we've created here as the top of the water. All right. Doesn't seem like this reed brush is working too bad. Wish it was a little smaller. Same as throughout this, we're going to smudge this a bit to push its digitalness down a bit. Our splashes, establishing with the top of the water, because that is how it would be. All right, so now thinking about switching to a studio brush, studio pen, because it'll give me a slightly cleaner line. We're going to go back to that the reed that we were using. What? There we go, because I was digging that. Kind of had its own, personality. Plus, I think that we need to keep this going a bit. This will help the water with a slightly more believable thing going on. Oh. Nope. Want to make sure we don't get too far away from our top of the water, because then it'll stop making sense. So we need to keep going. Oh, that was a little too much. Okay, let's take a look at it from back here. What we're doing here is just smudging, soften up some of the white. I mean, I do want it to be real splashy because this is where they're getting pulled underwater. We're going to go through and put in a lot of bubbles and additional lines where they're pulling, you know, Plasticman down. I believe there was a brush that was like dots. Let's see. Water. Nope, that doesn't work. You gotta see that one? That wasn't good. Ah, that's not good either. I wonder what happens. I guess maybe if we turn it perfectly square and use this tool. Oh, it looks stupid. That did not do much. So I don't think that is the way to go. Hmm. All right, guys. Well, we're at about 2 hours and 12 minutes, so I went over by a little bit, but we're pretty much all done with this piece. I had a really great time working on it. I hope you guys had a little bit of fun. You know, exploring some of those extra brushes were kind of interesting. Getting in to try some different, you know, kind of effects and stuff was pretty fun. So that's kind of where we're gonna be for today. Whoops. I'm gonna try a little bit of different stuff as I wrap it up. You know, I am forever noodling, you know, what we all do, I'm sure. Maybe I do it more. Alright, so this is some tiny bubbles. It's too bad that when you use this brush and you change the size, it changes the size of the bubbles instead of the size of the spread. Wonder if I go in here and fix that. Spacing. Oh, that just puts them closer together. Ah, that helps. Let's see how that works. Yeah, about the same. Too much. Alright, I think that kind of looks cool. Alright, you guys. Well, I could noodle forever. Let me show you what we finished up here. That's what we were working on, and that is basically the finished piece. I had a really cool time, like I said, working with you guys. I hope everybody gained something from that. I will be back on Wednesday here from 12 to 2. Sorry, I was a little late starting today. Excuse me. But this is what's going on, and we will be back together on Wednesday. So thank you so much, you guys. I will catch you later.